Hey friends, Dave here with Transfer Express, and today we are going to be tackling some tricky heat pressing scenarios. That's right, oversized prints. Now with huge t-shirt and apparel prints making a comeback for more than just streetwear and clothing brands, you may find yourself in a situation where you have an idea for some oversized prints or you have a customer requesting it. Well, there is no reason to fear. It's actually pretty easy to achieve awesome results regardless of what heat press you have at home or in your shop. So let's get right into it. If you are new to Transfer Express, we are the world's largest supplier of custom screen printed and digital heat transfers, heat presses, free customizable designs, wholesale apparel, and expert advice to help grow your t-shirt business. If you haven't already, subscribe. We're kicking out new videos like this one every single week. Now we're going to start here first with an oversized print and then the popular Billboard print across the back shoulders and onto the sleeve. They really seem to be making a comeback from their initial popularity just a few years ago. Now we do have a Hotronix auto open clamshell press here, which is equipped with the full-size 16x20 platen. Now having this large area on your heat press definitely helps and makes things easier with large graphics, but with the techniques that I'm going to show you here today, we can make it work on any size heat press. Now we're going to be using our Ultra Color Max direct-to-film transfers for our first example because you do have up to 22 by 22 inches. For this example, we used almost every square inch of this space. So let's cut these graphics up and get them on our t-shirt. For reference, this huge full front graphic is 13.5 by 20 inches, and the text on the edges that I have here for our Billboard print are 21 inches by 4 inches. Now, a tip that I learned as an apparel decorator over the past decade for prints that are huge like this one is try to limit the solid ink areas. Regardless of what inks or method you're using to print your shirt, be it screen printing heat transfers or even direct to garment, any of these huge full front graphics can feel very heavy and stiff if they're all just a huge solid area of ink. So try breaking up these elements with some show-through areas to not only help with the feel of the print, but also make great use of the color of the garment as a color in your image. Just like these trees here that just have outlines, now we'll have the garment color fill in our color for the leaves. Let's go ahead and get our shirt onto our heat press. One thing I really love about Ultra Color Max when you're placing these prints is the clear liner so that you could actually see through exactly where your inks are going to go. This is just slightly too big for our press. So what we would end up doing is just pressing this as is, rolling it back off a little bit, and then re-pressing the bottom. We don't have to give it a full press to kind of tack it down, but because I'm not going to be reheating this top area, I am going to be giving it a full press as we go. So to prepare our garment here, I'm actually going to do everything in reverse. Now this is the same steps that you're going to take if you are, say, decorating on a smaller heat press. So let's remove our image and make sure that our t-shirt is aligned nice and centered. Like this one, you could kind of see this fold from the supplier right down that is the front of our t-shirt. Never trust those. We're gonna check down on each seam and ensure that it's straight the entire way back down the platen. You can see this fold here, and it's nice and even. It doesn't go down or doesn't go up. It stays nice and even, equal distance from the top of our platen from here to down here. So let's go ahead and give this one a pre-press. Ultra Color Max is going to apply at 290 degrees. I'm just gonna go ahead and set our settings here on the press up to 15 seconds for our Ultra Color Max. Preheat that bottom area too. So we'll just roll the garment up, make sure that we have all of the print area preheated and the moisture removed before we start laying our graphic down. We're going to press the top portion of this graphic. Then we're going to peel hot when the press opens because Ultra Color Max is a hot peel transfer. We're not going to peel all the way. We're only going to peel down to about this area here because this is going to be covered and it will be hot when we make our second press. And then we'll peel the rest of it hot. But we don't want to have to peel this cold because it may affect the final finish of this transfer and it might melt back into the carrier and make it really hard to peel. So we'll just peel it while it's hot. Let's go ahead and press 290 degrees for our 15 seconds for Ultra Color Max. Now we're just going to lift our carrier up and off, like I mentioned, down to about here. Now, what we'll do is we'll just peel the rest of this back and off and try to only repress really what we need here. So we'll just go ahead and press the bottom of this graphic as well. Now this stuff here, like I mentioned, is all applied and peeled off hot. As soon as the press opens, we'll just peel the rest of our transfer right here. And there we go. A humongous print in 2 steps because it was too large for a press, but nice and easy. So say we want to do the same print, but we want to use a smaller press. Say you only have a press like this 9x12 craft press at home. You could still do it. It's just a little bit more work. So you can see that we're hanging off the sides here a little bit. So instead of maybe pressing in 2 sections like we did and then moving the garment up to press more after we pressed and peeled, you would just probably do it in 4 sections. So you would do like this quarter, you would move it over after you peel to do this other quarter, and then move the shirt up or down either way, and just print and peel as you go. So here we're going to really try to nail this billboard placement where we're going to be crossing over everything over here on the seams. We could do it 2 ways. So we can either keep everything together here so we make sure the words are aligned properly, print 1 word, peel 1 word, and then print the second word, or we could cut this and just make a little key. So just when you cut, make a little squiggle so we know that we could line up our second print after we lay our first print down. For printing on something like this, we have our little squiggle cut out there, and we would just essentially place 1 word and be able to print. Just be mindful of any seams or collars that may be underneath the printing area. Then we would print and realign and set our other one right in there. But I want to show you how to do this same placement on a larger press. Now the first step is going to be kind of pulling the collar up so it's not going to be down in this area, which is going to be affecting our print, because we're going to try to print right here, and that's usually where that collar's coming down when you're printing on the backside. So we want to keep that up and out of the way. I am going to go sideways on this press so that I could get the best look at how our shirt is actually going to lay up. You could see that even though I thought I was nice and aligned and centered, that this seam is actually much farther than where this seam is to my fold. So I want to realign my fold to make sure we're as equal on each side as we can be. Otherwise, we are not going to be getting that awesome placement that we expect. Now with this, because we are going to be printing near these seams and over it, on just a t-shirt like this, it's not too bad, they're not too thick. So we're just going to increase our pressure just a tiny bit. So I wanna make sure we're nice and centered, because sometimes your words don't center up perfectly. So here we are on press, seeing that we are exactly where we wanna be. I could say that the graphic is about 4 fingers down from where I put my fold here, and I'll double check this side over here as well to make sure that we are in that right location, and we are going to have just a little bit of this bottom seam here, the collar from the front side, pulling up. So we want to move that up out of the way as well. We look good, and we will print our first print. So I'm actually going to remove this one, and we're just going to focus on printing this one here. Now that we're all set, we'll go ahead and peel our transfer carrier away for each one of these words. And you can see that when we do cross seams, we may have just a little bit of imperfection. Ultracolor Max bridges that well, but we may even want to hit that again with just a little bit more pressure to really make sure it sits down in that seam there. And you could kind of see a ghosted image of where our actual image was printed on this sheet. So I'm just gonna look at that and align it back onto our text the best we can. So we're gonna take this one, align it right into that little notch that we had, and now we know the exact placement of where we want this second one to be. We do wanna grab a cover sheet and cover over any other area. I don't wanna block any heat here, but I do wanna cover over any area where we have exposed ink. And now we'll close this and press. And now that our press has opened up, we'll peel our carrier here hot. You can see that everything aligns nice and perfect all together using that little trick to align those two transfers to each other. I hope you learned something today and feel confident to try some out-of-the-box printing locations and sizes. Of course, if you have any tips of your own for any of these types of prints, let us know down in the comments section below. As always, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all of the cool heat printing and apparel business tips, tricks, education, and inspiration that we're dropping here every single week on the Transfer Express YouTube. But until next time, I'm Dave. Happy pressing.